Getting the pole for the final road course race of the season, race 20 of the 2013 HARC Pro Series season at Watkins Glen, would be Mark Nutt in the Zero car with a 64 of Ron Young on his outside. Down into turn 1, Mark Nutt would be in the optimal line, and he would be able to take the lead as they go through the S's. Kyle Planini in the 7 car would jump out to the outside as they entered the inner loop, and Kyle Planini would eventually get by him down in turn 7, I think it is. A bit further back in the field, we have 3 wide racing with Peter Saviano, Damir Bejyanov, and Robert Moss going at it. Peter Saviano was involved in another 3 wide battle just half a lap ago back on lap 1. Kyle Planini led that lap, one of the few laps he's led this season, as he is currently last place in points. As they entered the second to last corner on the second lap, Mark Nutt would make a charge to the inside, which would quickly become the outside as they entered the final corner. However, Mark Nutt would be able to eventually get the position just a few corners after as they went into the S's. Our current top 2 in points, Mitch McDonald and Spencer Fullerton, are currently around midfield trying to methodically pick through cars without getting themselves into trouble. On lap 5, Connor Breton, with some help from Kyle Planini, we get a huge run coming down after the S's, coming into the inner loop. And Connor Breton would get to the inside, where Connor Breton would barely just take the lead there. Mark Nutt made a little bit of contact with the back bumper of Connor Breton there, but no harm, no foul, and we'll continue on. A few laps after, Mark Nutt, not content with running second, would get to the inside entering turn 1, and he would eventually get the lead as they went up for the S's. James Davis, one of the top 5 in points right now, is currently in 3rd, so he's looking to have another good day as he helps Mark Nutt get by Connor Breton. Coming down through the inner loop, Robert Moss and Brock McMahon would make some contact, and Robert Moss would go off the track. Along with Brock McMahon, Robert Moss would hit the wall a few times, and we see there's more trouble up ahead. Brock McMahon, after his trip through the grass, would merge on track with Mason Wood and Ron Young, and both would spin out. Mason Wood would avoid the wall, however Ron Young wouldn't. Through the chaos, many drivers would swerve, and Leah Walker would end up making some contact with Luke Walker and the wall before spinning up the track, well out of harm's way, until Ron Young comes flying in and slams into Leah Walker. This would take both of the cars out of the race. I'm not sure what Ron Young was thinking there, but he probably had a tire down, and he was probably quite frustrated with Robert Moss's poor merge back on track. Under this caution, most of the field would come in. Some of the cars that stayed out, though, were Zachary Brown, Eric Cesar, Penn Isman, our points leader, Spencer Fullerton, James O'Shea, Mitch McDonald, Gary Tang, Jacob Young, and Luke Walker. James Davis would lead on the restart, but Zachary Brown would get to the inside as James Davis spun the tires there. And Zachary Brown would get the lead through turn 1. Eric Cesar would give him a push up through the S's. And although James Davis looks strong, the right line is the best way to get through the S's and have a nice run out of them. So Zachary Brown would get the lead as Eric Cesar is up to 3rd, trying to battle his way into 2nd. The field would become spread out, and Zachary Brown would hold on to the lead for around the next 10 laps or so as Nicholas DeFort and William Duncan have moved their way up into the top 3. Great runs for them so far. However, that very lap, Zachary Brown would make a move to enter the pit lane for his final pit stop, but Nicholas DeFort would make some contact with him, and they're hard in the wall. Richard Trelinsky has also spun into the pit lane as some of the fastest cars of the day were taken out by this incident. As you can see from Nicholas Dufour's roof cam, Nicholas had absolutely no idea Zachary was going into the pits and was trying to hold his line. Zachary slid up a bit, probably because he's on old tires, and they both went hard into the wall. Under this caution, most of the field would come in to get fresh rubber or to top up for the final run of the race, as for some reason William Duncan and the other members of the top three have stayed out once again. Those guys have not made their pit stops, and I'm not sure what they're waiting for. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity, and this may be the last caution of the race. William Duncan in the 6th car would lead the field back to the green flag, as the caution flag is already out. A few of the drivers had a hard time lining up on the restart, and Mark Nutt would make some contact with Zach Hofschneider coming to the green flag, and they would both go into the wall. Mark Nutt had a great car, and possibly a winning car, as we have more trouble up ahead. We had a big stack up with everyone trying to get their order right, and there would be 4 wide racing down the front stretch, and Ilya Bondarenko, Connor Brenton, and Luke Walker would go into the wall, do a light spin at 30 to 40 miles an hour, and they would all recover with minimal damage. Meanwhile, while all that carnage was going on, Eric Cesar and Penn Isman would realize that not coming in under that caution was a bad idea, and they ended up coming in now to get their fresh rubber and fuel. Meanwhile, as the top 5 or so were racing back to the yellow flag, Alex Danker would drop to the inside of William Duncan, and William Duncan would just hand the lead to him pretty much on a platter, wouldn't really challenge him too much, and Alex Danker would end up leading the field back to the caution flag. Under this caution, all of the drivers who haven't yet made a pit stop in the race finally decided to do so smartly, as now we just have 13 laps to go. All of the drivers would do so except for Alex Tanker and Ben Dover, who weirdly stayed out until the restart once again. This would let Richard Trelinsky lead the field back to the green flag. Also, under caution, Damir Bejinov and Connor Brenton would blow up, and leading the field back to the green flag, Richard Trelinsky would blow a tire. This is going to hand Zach Harvick the lead, at least temporarily, as now James Davis is trying to get by for the lead. Richard Trelinsky trying to give people the inside line, but not being too gracious right now, as he continues to get passed by the cars that don't have damage, as they're 3 wide coming up through the S's here, and that's going to cause a small stack-up incident with Robert Moss and William Duncan, as Robert nearly rolled it over there. Believe it or not, this would not bring out a caution, as Robert Moss spun out in front of, well, no one, and eventually Richard Trelinsky would make his way off the track. Not, however, before causing a huge stack-up crash involving Luke Walker, James O'Shea, Mason Wood, James Bond, Gary Tang, all off the track, as the drivers went 3 and 4 wide around Richard Trelinsky, and it just simply isn't possible at a track as thin as Watkins Glen. Leading the field to the caution flag would be Pichu London in the 31 car, who passed James Davis in the S's. Pichu would lead the field back to the green flag with just 9 laps to go on the restart. James Davis is immediately making a charge to the inside with Spencer Fullerton in the 73 car. Our current points leader has somehow made his way up to 3rd from midfield earlier in the race. Spencer Fullerton seems to be the king of road courses this year, as his finishes have at the 3 held previously this year have been second, and 1st, with his win coming at Donington Park. As now Spencer Fullerton is trying to get around James Davis as they enter the inner loop, And it looks like he's going to be able to do so as he gets by James Davis. James Davis trying to hold on, but Spencer Fullerton has the optimal line coming into the next corner. James Davis would perform a crossover coming up through the S's the next lap, and with some help from Peter Saviano, James Davis would get by for the lead, and Peter Saviano would move up into second. With 7 laps to go, Spencer Fullerton would manage to get back into second, and he would make the pass on James Davis once again coming into the S's. Spencer Fullerton looking for his second win of the year, and hopefully wants to extend his points lead. Spencer Fullerton would lead with 4 laps to go. He and Dixie Normus would nearly spin each other out. Spencer Fullerton way sideways coming through the inner loop, and Dixie Normus would get the lead as we come up on the lap traffic of Richard Trelinsky. Unfortunately for Spencer Fullerton, he would become stuck behind the very slow car of Richard Trelinsky, and would get passed by several cars, including some of his title contenders, James Davis and Mitch McDonald, who aren't going to let him back in too easily. Especially considering his points position, as he nearly gets taken out by Eric Cesar there, and races 3 wide up through the S's with Pichu London, as he eventually gets back by Richard Trelinsky, as Richard begins to hold up some of the other cars, such as Eric Cesar and Andreas Allen. With 3 laps to go, Shrimp Engritz would get to the inside of Dixie Normus. Dixie would make some contact with Shrimp through the inner loop, but Shrimp would end up with the lead. These drivers are keeping it clean and green up front here, but that doesn't mean they're exactly not doing anything, as the racing has been really wild up front today. As now Dixie Normus is trying to get the position back. That isn't going to work as Shrimp Engritz blocks the line. On the final lap, Shrimp Engritz is trying to get the win. However, Dixie Normus has gotten to the inside with some help from James Davis. Can Dixie get the lead? It looks like she's going to be able to do so. Shrimp trying to hold on the outside, but Dixie gets it. James Davis trying to move into second, but Shrimp is not going to let that happen. Shrimp Engritz certainly does not want to finish second. Shrimp finished second at Indianapolis, and when he clearly had the fastest car of the day, as Dixie Normus has won previously this year in Drummondville, Quebec, but at the dirt track there. But now she will get her second win of the season here in Watkins Glen. Shrimp Engritz in the 77 car would end up having to settle for second place. James Davis moves up in the point standings to 3rd place, just 9 points behind new points leader Mitch McDonald, who finished 6th. Peter Saviano finishes 4th, a good run for that team. Zach Harvick's going to come across the line in 5th.